Good evening. Welcome to King Jugg, and welcome to our first live edition of Fisher's Freight Coach's Corner with the head coach of the Fisher's Freight, Dixie Wooten. We've also got a couple of players here, and Felix Harper, the quarterback, and Jordan Davis, who is a quarterback and wide receiver. You'll be hearing from them a little bit later on. I know a lot of people here have already met head coach Dixie Wooten as well as Felix and Jordan, and we're so happy to be here and happy to talk about the great things that are happening just across the street at the Fishers Event Center with the Fishers Freight. And Saturday night, the Iowa Barnstormers are in town. It's a 7 o'clock kickoff at the Fishers Event Center, and you can get your tickets at Ticketmaster.com. We'd love to see all of you who are either here at King Jugg or tuning in on Mixler to join us on Saturday night as the Fishers Freight take on the Iowa Barnstormers. And head coach Dixie Wooten, thanks for joining us. And first of all, big win on Sunday night. It's always hard to win on the road. You go to Arizona, you build a little bit of a lead in a back and forth fourth quarter, and then your defense comes up with a couple of big stops late. They did get a late touchdown, but you're able to essentially force a miss on the extra point, and then you got another stop to win the game. And I know you've played a lot of really close games that have gone down to the last play. How good was it to go on the road in a tough place to win and come away with a W?
It was huge, man. You know, playing against the Arizona Rattlers in Arizona, you know, that was their first home game that they lost. So, you know, we went down there, we had a game plan, and we stuck to it. You know, we lost 5 straight, and we lost 4 games at the end of the game. So, you know, this was fun that it went our way this time.
And it was a case of, I think you deserved one eventually because you've been right there on the cusp where it's come down to one play at the end of the game. And give credit to the teams you've been facing. They've been making some of those plays. And, you know, they've been making some of those plays, but you were able to make a couple of plays. They're on the 1 yard line going in to try to win the game, and your defense was able to make a stop and force them back and eventually into a missed field goal at the game's end.
It was huge, man. Our defense stood up last night big time. You know, everything that Arizona threw at us, we stepped up to the fight against it. My DBs played well. They Arizona threw the ball like 32 times, and you know their percentage was terrible. Yeah. So you know we stopped the run game and everything. So you know defense stood up, offense did some great things. Of course, Felix. You know we knew they was going to try to stop the run, but he can't make some big throws to Jordan Davis. So we had a great game plan.
I thought really the big spot in the game was second half. They return the opening kickoff for a touchdown, and you come right back. And Josiah King has 2 or 3 really nice runs. Felix has a couple of good runs, and then he and Jordan Davis hook up. Number 1 for a 3rd and long conversion, and then for the touchdown. You know, how important was it to get that touchdown back and put yourselves in the lead, and then it was a back and forth game the rest of the way?
It was the drive before that, though, Andrew. Like before we went to the half, you know, usually, you know, that's when Arizona is their best at the half. But you know, the defense again stepped up, and you know, made the adjustment to it. And then, you know, we started at the 5 yard line, and we was able to be able to get a field goal attempt, but we was able to get a drive going to eat the clock up. And then when they ran it back, of course, and then you know, Felix stepped in the huddle, you know, made sure his guys was together, and we went down and drove for a touchdown.
It just seems like his presence in the huddle. And he was dinged up a couple of weeks ago against Tulsa, and he comes in, and he's not 100%, but his presence just seemed to calm the team down. And same thing on Sunday night in Arizona. His presence just really seemed to kind of get everybody calmed down, ready to go, and he just continued to make the plays, either with his legs or his arm, to move the chains and eventually put points on the board.
He's our leader, you know, at the end of the day. He's our quarterback. We go as far as he's go. You know, at the end of the day, you know, when he step in the huddle, everybody know that he got the capability of taking us to the promised land. So, you know, these guys step in the huddle. You know, they see him in there. They believe in him. And, you know, he make the plays for us. So, again, like against Tulsa, you know, he came in. He gave those guys the understanding of we have a chance to win. So, anytime, you know, we have 2 at the quarterback position, we have a shot. We have a good shot.
And one thing, you've got a really good deep core of receivers, but the end of the Tulsa game when you needed to score, Felix checks it down to the running back, and Dominic Roberto has a touchdown. You do the same thing on the winning touchdown with Josiah King on Sunday in Arizona. How good is it to have those backs that can catch the ball out of the backfield and be really versatile, and Felix checking it down and finding that open guy.
Man, by far we have the two best running backs in the IFL. You know, with Josiah King and Dominic Roberto, man, they can do everything for us. You know, they run downhill, they run outside, they catch the ball out the backfield, they block. You know, there's nothing that they can't do that we ask them to do. So, you know, with those guys, Felix know for a fact if they cover our receivers, they can drop it to them and we can make plays with those guys.
And if the other team's blitzing, somebody's going to be open, right? Because the linebacker's usually the guy that's going to be covering that running back. So if they're blitzing, that's going to be an opportunity either for that pass or for Felix to pull the ball and run, and you've been able to get some big plays in the running game that way, right?
Absolutely. You know, that's one thing about it. You know, we watch film and we break teams down. So Felix knew right away when he did the fake toss and somebody didn't go with Josiah, he gave it right to him right away. So, you know, Felix, again, he got full control of everything on that field, man. He's doing a great job for us.
I know when JT Stokes got hurt a couple of weeks ago that there was kind of that question of who's going to step up, because he does so many things for you and provides that veteran leadership, and that opens up an opportunity for Jordan Davis to play and get a lot more opportunities at wide out. Boy, has he just stepped up big. Had that incredible one-handed catch against Tulsa while being covered in the end zone a couple of weeks ago, and then last week. Big play in the first half, 33-yard touchdown, but he made a couple of big plays as well in the second and ended up setting a team record for receiving yards in a game.
Man, one thing about Davis, man, he's a guy that can do everything. You know, he play on special team for us. He can play quarterback for us. He can play a running back for us, receiver. So we're going to use him a lot going down the stretch. You know, at the end of the day, you know, again, against Arizona, he's hard to tackle in space. You know, he know exactly what he's doing at all times, man. And one thing about him is we haven't even broke the seal open on him yet. You know, we got a lot of stuff that we're going to do with him, you know, to get this playoff run going. And you know, we're going to ride his coattail.
And that's one thing we're talking about, this playoff run. You've got 4 games left in the regular season, and felt like, you know, the Tulsa game you said was playoff game number 1. That ultimately didn't go your way in overtime, but you come back and playoff game number 2, you go to Arizona, difficult place to win, and come away with a win. And now is it a matter of now you've got playoff game number 3 here Saturday night against Iowa?
So that's how it is, man. You know, when this come down to these games, you know, we put ourselves in a situation to be able to get in the playoffs, but we also put ourselves in a situation to, you know, not make it if we struggle in these games. So, you know, at practice, the guys understand what they have to do. So practice is amped up probably 10 times higher. You know, people get a great understanding of what we got to do and the circumstances that we in. So, you know, it's all about, you know, winning each game, you know, Iowa this week. But we trying to get in the playoffs because we know if we get in the playoffs, we're going to be a tough team.
Feels like midway through the year, especially around the bye week a couple of weeks ago, you revamped your defense a little bit. And your defense had been struggling coming out of the bye week. You've held 3 straight teams under 40 points in regulation. And you made some changes. You brought in a number of new guys. And Ja'Cory Benjamin had a couple of interceptions. On Saturday night, you had Drake Johnson had 6 tackles. Ja'Cory Benjamin had 6 tackles. You know, the new guys, you know, Renee Dilworth had 7. You know, your new guys in the secondary were all stepping up and making big plays.
So the thing about it, you know, being a young organization, you know, you got to find people that fit. You know, at the end of the day, we started off good, but we had to make some changes and get some more new guys. Mm-hmm. You know, we got, you know, again, a Dilworth, you know, stepped in that linebacker and was huge, got a lot of pressure on Arizona. Then also you got Drake Johnson, you know, he's coming to be a leader back there. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, Benjamin, he's probably one of the most athletic guys in the league. So, you know, those guys stepped in, those guys understood what they had to do, and now, you know, we're playing great defense again.
And your guys up front as well. And how good was it to get Trey Smalls back on Saturday night and his size? And then you've got Nick Lennon and Jalen Swan. Those guys are TFL machines. So to have Trey kind of in there to plug the holes to let those guys do their thing.
It's huge, man. You know, we've been missing Trey. You know, he had a concussion, but now he's healthy again. So it made a difference. You know, he set the edge and helped, you know, Swan and letting them come in the backfield and make tackles, man. So, you know, with Long in the middle, you know, we got a solid defensive line.
Yeah.
So that's why our defense is playing pretty well, man. They gel together, they play hard together. So I look for some big things from those guys.
Well, when the other team misses 2 kicks late, you cannot discount what Darius Long does on the defensive line in your essentially your field goal block return game. How good is he in getting his hands up and disrupting what the other team's trying to do in the kicking game that always seems to steal you 1 or 4 or 6 points a game?
He never take a play off. You know, that's one thing about Darius, especially on the field goal block.
Mm-hmm.
He feel like he can get in there at any time because at the end of the day, these guys are trying to get to the next level. So every snap count, and he take a big time advantage of that. Like, you know, he got a block extra point. After that extra point, the kicker was trying to basically kick away from him. Mm-hmm. So Darius was huge in that win against Arizona.
You've added Cordell Brewster to the offensive line because you've had some injuries. You kind of had to add some pieces, but he's a guy who's been around this league a long time. How good was it to be able to add a veteran, and now you got that 4th offensive lineman again, so you can go to your heavy package?
So with Brewster, I've been the one who brought him into the IFL. You know, he's one of those guys that know the system. He know exactly what we need to do. That's why he fit in so perfect with us. You know, brought him in. You know, he was a teacher, finished his teaching job, brought him in, and he fit in right away. So he did a great job for us in the game. You know, he fit in with those guys because his leadership and his dedication to be, you know, successful every play. So, you know, bringing Brewster in was huge. Now we're able to move Sharp to his position. So now our offensive line is big time now.
And that offensive line, because the way you like to run the football, now you got everybody back in place, and you've got Navon Donaldson on one end, you got LeQuinston on the other, and the 2 running backs and your quarterback, who's such a good dual threat guy. You know, how dangerous does this make you offensively? You feel like you're kind of back to where you were at the start of the season when you were moving the ball really effectively.
It makes us dangerous big time. You know, it all starts up front. Once you get the offensive line together, everything else falls in place. You know, one thing about us, you know, my guys don't panic. As coaching staff, we don't panic either. You know, when we lost 5 straight, we was in some dogfight with some great teams. You know, we lost 2 to Green Bay, 2 to Jacksonville, and a tough one in Orlando. So, you know, when we saw that, you know, we had an opportunity to make something happen. So now it's time. So now the guys understand what we have to do to be successful, and we're ready to go.
You got 4 games left. So you're 3/4 of the way through the season, and you're in a position where if you went out, you're in the postseason. And so you control your own destiny. And 6-6, but as we mentioned, almost all of those losses have come down to the last play. You guys are right there with the top teams in the league. It's just a matter of get into the postseason and give yourselves an opportunity, because you know you can play with and beat anybody on your schedule.
Absolutely, man, and that's what it's about. You know, at the end of the day, you know, we're a second-year organization. You know, and you know, most second-year organizations, they're just trying to finish, you know, with 3 or 4 wins. You know, we looking at it trying to, you know, get to the playoffs. So at the end of the day, we ready to go again. You know, my coaching staff is working hard every day. You know, the players understand the opportunity that they have to get to the playoffs. And, you know, I don't think no team want to see us in the playoffs.
Just evaluate your team kind of at the 3/4 point of the season and kind of what you like about this team so far.
I just like how they stick together through adversity. You know, I like how they motivate each other. I like how they, you know, get together, like especially at practice this last Thursday. You know, I came to practice, they was already starting practice. So, you know, that's the type of mindset they have. So it's a beautiful thing. But at the end of the day, you know, I think we got one of the best teams in the league. We just got to figure it out, you know, being a young organization. But now I feel like we're figuring it out big time, and going to Arizona, you know, in a tough environment, let us know that we're close.
One thing I love watching you guys practice is everything is competitive. And, you know, there's a lot of pride on both sides of the ball, and they're trying to beat each other in practice. And is that very much an iron sharpens iron thing, because you're making yourself game ready every day.
Absolutely, man. These guys know that, as having me as a coach is not easy, because I'm going to point out everything that they do wrong, to make sure they understand that when we get in the game, how important it is to take every play serious. So, now these guys starting to understand that. Now they're pushing each other. Now they compete with each other every day at practice. And once you compete at practice, that makes the game a little easier.
Well, you've got the Iowa Barnstormers coming in on Saturday night. It's a team you've seen twice. You've beaten them twice, but they're a much different team personnel-wise from what you saw back in March and April early in the year. They've added a lot of guys, and they're essentially, even though I know they're a franchise that's been around a long time, they're essentially starting over this year with Andre Coles as head coach. And is this a team that has just gotten better and better as the year has gone on?
Of course, they brought some pieces in that's got some guys got cut from the CFL, some guys got cut from the UFL, so they brought them in. At the end of the day, this professional football, so you got to go in there and take everybody serious. With Iowa, they can pose a problem because they don't have nothing to lose. They trying to build for next year right now, so they want to come in and come to our house and play us tough. What people don't realize that everybody play us hard like we won the championship last year. So, we look for Iowa to do the same thing.
Well, how important is it going to be to do what you've done? Run the football, control the clock, control the line of scrimmage, and essentially get them on their heels and make their young quarterback have to play from behind.
So, we're going to come in, we always bring our run game with us. But, again, if they try to stop the run, we just lean on Felix and throw the football, But at the end of the day, we want to make sure we eat that clock up and, play the possession game, because we know that how our defense playing, we're going to get 3 or 4 stops.
Well, the way teams are defending you now, they know you want to run the football, so they're committing extra guys. And you've been able to lean on that passing game a little bit more these last few weeks. And the fact that Felix is so accurate throwing the football and has such good chemistry with his receivers, and how good has that been that your passing game you've been able to lean on, and it's been successful here lately?
It's huge, man, because, the receivers and Felix get together after practice. They go through, throwing the football now. They getting out on the field early, going through the route trees and things like that, because now they know that people are trying to stop the run big time. So now, those guys understand what they have to do in the pass game to make sure we keep growing and growing until we get to those playoffs.
So what are your thoughts on Iowa from what you've seen on film so far?
I think they're a solid team, man. Their record doesn't speak for them, at all. I think they come out, they play you tough. They be focused, but at the end of the day, they're a young team as well, just like us. So they kind of make them mistakes in the third or fourth quarter that cost them games.
So what's the key to the game? Is it going to be kind of take a lead and try to put pressure on them there in the second half?
Absolutely. What we want to do is we want to come out, we want to steal some possessions early. We want to put more pressure on them as possible. So, we want to go take some shots early, things like that. So now, we get those guys, in a situation to remember why they lost so many games.
Well, Coach, it's been a pleasure as always, and thanks to everybody here at King Jugg for joining us for Coach's Corner. We've got more for you. We've got a couple of guests here. Fishers Freight quarterback Felix Harper and whiteout quarterback Jordan Davis. So we're going to bring them up, and we'll hand them the mics. And so thank you, Coach, and we'll see you Saturday night.
Absolutely. Appreciate you, Andrew.
And hopefully we'll see all of you on Saturday night as well. And we'll bring Felix and Jordan up here. And basically, you want to keep the mics behind the speaker. Yeah.
Okay.
But
when you talk, just turn yours that way. So look, when you're ready, just turn it over there.
I'll take the hot chicken sandwich.
All right, we've got quarterback Felix Harper. We've got whiteout Jordan Davis here joining us. And glad you've joined us here. And first things first, how big was it to get that win on Sunday night? You guys have been right there on the cusp where it's come down to the last play. How good was it to come away and earn that victory on Sunday?
Oh, it was a real great big win for us. Through practice, Coach Dixie emphasized that we honestly, understand that this is playoff potential. So we worked out throughout practice. And like he said, like it was Thursday, he wasn't even there in the beginning, but us being leaders trying to understand that this is a time that football is not promised. So we took an initiative to, warm up and take everything to initiative to get to the right, to understand that, we're trying to get to the playoffs and win a championship because we have a great team. And I see that throughout every week of practice and each game. So just trying to be that leader for the team and understand the situation and come out strong and try to be victorious in each and every battle.
Felix, as a quarterback, you came in basically at this time last year and led the team on a little winning streak at the end of the season. But how good was it to have the whole offseason to be ready and then basically hit the ground running right at the start of the year, knowing that this is your team basically from the start of training camp?
Right, it was great. Coach Dixie gave me a call, and he was like, hey, man, you the guy. So once he gave me that, I took the initiative to work hard each and every day, working out 2-3 times a week. I was working out with JT each and every week, 2 times a week, throwing. I was working out with some other pros as well. So it was pretty cool. But, with losing JT, man, I was a great leader for the team. He was a great guy on and off the field. But, again, for Jordan Davis to step up for us, make big-time plays, he was the guy that came in. I knew first day at camp I was talking to Coach and telling him, like, hey, this is a guy. Like, I see him making one-hand catches before it even happened in the game now. So that's pretty cool to, see his talent and helping us contribute to wins as well.
And how good is it to have somebody who is a receiver who's been a quarterback as well and understands the game from that perspective?
Man, it's great, man. Jordan Davis came in, like I said, since camp day one. He asked me questions. I'm talking about even times that I don't even want to talk about football. He like, hey, what I do right here? What I do right here? I'm like, bro, football practice is over with. Like, but he's a great guy, man. Just understanding him, and I love that he wants to be great as well, like me. So that's something that I look and I like about him and appreciate as well. So, and that helps him to contribute to his game as well. So it's pretty good.
When your team's running the ball as well as you have all season, you've got Josiah and Dominic, basically 2 of the top running backs in the league. How much does that open up the passing game and allow you to pick apart defenses because you're able to throw when you want to rather than when you have to?
Yes, man. We got the 2 best running backs in the league, man. It's not even close. But with those 2 guys, man, Thunder and Lightning, they open up the pass for us, man. So when they give us 2 in the box and I see it's automatically man coverage, we just got to make plays for us QB and receivers. So understanding that within film study throughout the week and each and every opponent giving us different coverages, it's pretty great. But those are good guys, man, and understanding going through progression, and also they can make plays catching the ball as well too.
Well, as a quarterback, last year, was that your introduction to the indoor game when you came to the Freight right at the end of last season? And how much is that, because things happen so fast, the windows are a little smaller, how much is it different than and kind of an adjustment to playing in the indoor game on the smaller field?
Yeah, man. Coming from start off in the NFL, also played overseas in Canada. I think Canada kind of helped me with this game, understanding the motions and understanding the routes and also the concepts and understanding where people be and also where the coverages defense is running. But without Dixie, man, I wouldn't be who I am. So I really appreciate him and taking the time out with studying me through extra time with him. Even when we was back in California, like he made me understand the game and made me who I am today. So I really appreciate him. Without him, I wouldn't be who I am.
Well, Jordan, we'll pass the mic to you, but just describe, you've kind of been the Swiss Army knife for this team. You do a little bit of everything, but with JT being out the last couple of weeks, you've had to step into more of a role as a starting wideout, and just how you've really taken on that role and had a lot of success. Obviously, talk about the one-handed catch against Tulsa, which was maybe the play of the year in the league, but then having a big game in Arizona on Sunday.
Yes, sir. Losing JT was definitely very tough. But learning from him was probably the biggest thing. Learning from him and really all the guys, and like even Felix, it's been great. So really just trusting my preparation, making sure that I'm prepared for everything. Like Felix said, asking all the questions. I like to ask all the guys questions, get as much knowledge as possible. Because I'm a young player, still a rookie, so I'm still learning week to week, every day. So definitely just, like I said, trusting my preparation, putting in the work during the week, and then just relying on that when game time comes on the weekend. Well,
in college, you played quarterback for a while, then you moved to tight end later on in your college career. How did that change just make you a better football player? And had you played tight end receiver before when that happened? And obviously you had a great year, and that propelled you into the pros.
It definitely helped with, I talk a lot about preparation because I feel like that's everything. So making that transition from position, I kind of always had to be on my P's and Q's, always kind of know what's coming, especially me playing tight end at Division I level. I was very undersized, so I had to just find a lot of ways, use my knowledge, and find ways to be successful. Trying to block those 300-pound guys.
Oh, for sure.
Do that different stuff. So, yes, sir.
Yeah, and how much have you enjoyed being a part of this team, and what is this team's culture like that has kind of brought everybody together? It just seems like you guys really enjoy playing football together and just being together, whether it's a practice or on Saturday night under the lights.
I love it. I love every part of it. I'm always dancing and smiling and laughing, and I love the energy of the guys and just the vibes of the guys, man. They're all great. Like Felix said, Coach Dixie is awesome. He preaches it every day, but he also lives it. So, we have a representation, an example right in front of us. And it's like Felix said, we know this opportunity is a promise. So we just come in every day and work because, we all want to be great. So
seems like Coach Dixie's a teacher in a lot of ways.
Yes,
and is it good knowing that every practice rep, every game rep, there's always an opportunity to get better?
Yes, sir. Always. There's always room for improvement. There's always be better. And he preaches that every day, and we take that in, and we apply that to ourselves.
Well, Sunday night, you've been on the cusp several times and just had a lot of games not go your way on the last play of the game. How good was it to win, and especially in the fashion that you did, where you kept putting pressure on their offense in the second half, making plays, scoring, making them score, and then finally you're able to get a couple of defensive stops at the end of the game and come away with a win? How good was it to go on the road against a good team and come away with that win in that fashion?
That was amazing. It's like we said, that's playoff football right there. So, just like I say, all the work that we put in there in the week and all the work that we put in up to this point, to see it finally pay off and to being able to finally get on this roll and to start rolling from here, it's great.
You got the Iowa Barnstormers coming out on Saturday night. Another opportunity to just keep doing what you've been doing, and how good is it going to be to play in front of your home fans as well?
Oh, that's going to be amazing. I love the stadium. I love the fans. I love the city. So we all do, and we appreciate all the support. So we're definitely looking forward to it. Like I said, it's playoff football, so it's going to be a lot of scoring, a lot of action, and a lot of fun.
What's been your favorite thing about being here with the Fishers Freight so far?
My favorite thing is probably all the food. I love food, so it's so many different areas and everything right here. I love going out to eat and trying the different places and everything.
So Felix, I'll ask you that question too. Just what's been your favorite thing about your year plus here with the Freight?
I'll probably say the fans, man. They're outstanding. Like each and everywhere I go in this community, man, it's outstanding. Running into them. Like the other day, I was on the outdoor on my porch. It was a little kid riding a scooter. He was like, "Oh my God! Like, can you sign my football? I'm about to go get my football." So he went home and rode his scooter, came all the way back with 2 footballs. So I signed it for him, and he was really happy. So I feel like that right there, like, puts a smile on my face to know that we are like an impact to the community and also the fans that come to the game. So that really puts a smile on my face, and that's what I enjoy.
That's outstanding. Ask each of you, what's the key Saturday night against Iowa?
We played them already twice, so I feel like, again, just going back, watching those games, trusting the film study that Coach Dixie initiates. So I feel like just understanding what we did to beat them and also do that and even more improve on that, and just understanding the situations of the game that if we do go up one possession, to not let down and keep fighting and understand that we're trying to really put up points, man, and just understanding that we in this together and we still trying to play playoff potential football.
Jordan, I'll ask you that question too. What's your key on Saturday against Iowa?
My key, I definitely would say just execution. You know, we've already proven that we're a very strong team, and when we're all on point, you know, we are very dominant. So just making sure that we stay consistent and we consistently execute, then we'll definitely be able to do, you know, what we need to do.
Well, Felix, Jordan, thanks for joining us tonight here at King Jugg Brewing Company, and good luck on Saturday night.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having me.
All right, thank you, and thank you to everybody for joining us tonight at King Jugg for Fisher's Freight Coach's Corner with head coach Dixie Wooten, as well as quarterback Felix Harper and wideout / quarterback Jordan Davis. And Saturday night, the Freight home against the Iowa Barnstormers right across the street at the Fishers Event Center. We'd love to see you there. Get your tickets at Ticketmaster.com. After that, the Freight will be on the road for 2 games at Green Bay and then at Quad City after a bye week. And then the regular season finale will be on Sunday, July 26th at 4 o'clock against Orlando. And that could be a very, very big game to end the season. So we'd love to see you at the Fishers Event Center. Thank you for joining us tonight here at King Jugg for Fisher's Freight Coach's Corner.